When most people think about survival, their minds jump straight to bunkers, stockpiles, and weapons. But here's the truth. When the world as we know it crumbles, when the power grid fails, supply chains grind to a halt, and the comforting hum of modern life is replaced by eerie silence, it's not the big flashy preps that will save you. It's the small, unassuming tools you've probably overlooked 100 times. I'm talking about the cheap, everyday household items you already own. The ones buried in the back of your junk drawer, tucked away in your laundry room, or forgotten in the corner of your garage. The ones you'd never think twice about, until you're cold, hungry, or desperately trying to fix something with nothing. These aren't luxury items, or panic buys. They're the unsung heroes of survival. The things that will quietly become priceless when chaos knocks on your door. This isn't about fear or spending a fortune. It's about recognizing value before the rest of the world catches on. Because when the shelves are empty and the lights go out, these 7 household items could be the difference between staying in control or losing everything. Let's dive in before it's too late. Plastic spray bottles. When people imagine survival gear, their minds instantly jump to knives, axes, or maybe some high-tech water purifier they saw in a prepper catalog. But survival doesn't always depend on the most expensive or the most complicated equipment. In reality, it's the small, overlooked items that end up becoming absolute game changers when society collapses. And one of the cheapest, most underrated tools you probably have right now under your sink or tossed in the back of a cleaning closet is the humble plastic spray bottle. That bottle you once bought with glass cleaner or bathroom disinfectant in it, after collapse, that thing transforms from disposable packaging into a multi-use survival device. The beauty of a spray bottle is simple. It lets you take a liquid, whether it's water, disinfectant, or even fuel, and apply it with precision, control, and efficiency. And in a world where resources are limited, control is everything. Let's start with hygiene, because hygiene isn't a luxury when sanitation breaks down. It's life or death. In normal times, we take toilets, sinks, and soap for granted. But once the grid shuts off, plumbing fails, and trash piles up, the spread of bacteria and disease becomes one of the fastest killers in collapse scenarios. Now picture this. You fill a spray bottle with diluted bleach, alcohol, or even vinegar. Suddenly, you've got a portable disinfection system. You can sterilize surfaces, clean food preparation areas, disinfect wounds, or sanitize tools without wasting water. That kind of control keeps you one step ahead of infection, which is usually what takes people out faster than bullets or starvation. But sanitation is just one angle. Spray bottles also become life-saving cooling tools during extreme heat. Imagine a heat wave with no electricity, no fans, and no air conditioning. Heat stroke isn't just uncomfortable, it kills. A mist of water sprayed across the face, neck, or armpits can lower body temperature dramatically. For children, the elderly, or anyone already weakened, that simple cooling trick might mean the difference between surviving the heat and collapsing from it. Beyond cooling, spray bottles allow you to stretch scarce water supply. Fill one with clean water, and you've got a makeshift shower or hand washing station. A quick spray rinse after scrubbing with a little soap saves gallons compared to pouring water from a container. Suddenly, 2 liters of water stretch into 20 separate wash. In collapse, water efficiency is survival. And here's where things get creative. Spray bottles can even play a role in fire making. Preppers have been known to fill them with alcohol or other accelerants, turning them into portable ignition tools that can spray fuel onto damp wood or stubborn kindling. In wet, windy conditions where fire is tough to start, that little bottle becomes your flamethrower for survival. Still not impressed? Consider animal deterrents. With strong-smelling solutions like vinegar, ammonia, or essential oils, you can spray perimeters to discourage pests, rodents, or even some larger animals from creeping into your camp. That's passive defense, bought for pennies. And don't underestimate barter value. In a world where sanitation supplies vanish from shelves, showing up with a working spray bottle full of disinfectant gives you bargaining power. People will trade food, batteries, or tools for something that helps them fight germs and stay clean. That's why in my own kit, I pack 3 bottles minimum. One is for hygiene, soapy water or vinegar mix. One for disinfectant, bleach solution or alcohol, and one for specialty use, fuel, deterrent sprays, or bar. Stored dry and only filled when needed. They weigh next to nothing. So before you toss your next empty cleaning bottle, think twice. Because when collapse strips away comfort, sanitation, and cooling, The guy who saved his spray bottles, he's not desperate. He's adapting, and in survival, that's everything. 2. Steel nail file. When most people look at a steel nail file, they see one thing: a grooming tool. Something meant for smoothing rough fingernails, maybe stashed in a bathroom drawer and forgotten. But in survival, ordinary objects transform, and that simple nail file, it turns into one of the most versatile and underrated tools you can pack. Let's start with the obvious: precision scraping and striking. If you've ever tried to spark a ferro rod using a big clunky knife, you know it's awkward, even dangerous. A steel nail file, with its abrasive edge and compact design, strikes clean sparks every time. It's small enough to control in the dark, strong enough to bite into flint, and it doesn't risk damaging the blade of your main knife. Fire is survival, and a nail file becomes your pocket-sized fire starter aid. But fire isn't its only trick. Think of how many times gear fails in a collapse scenario: corroded battery contacts, dull blades, or rust creeping into tools. A steel nail file is like carrying a mini tool shop in your pocket. You can scrape corrosion off contacts to revive dead electronics, sharpen a dull knife enough to cut rope or process wood, or smooth jagged metal that might otherwise cut you open. It's not glamorous, but collapse isn't glamorous. It's about making things work with what you have. Now let's shift to first aid, because injuries don't wait until you have the right gear. A sterilized nail file can help grind down a painful splinter, trim cracked nails that risk infection, or even cut strips of gauze when no scissors are available. And don't laugh, cracked nails in the wild can lead to open wounds, which can spiral into infection without proper care. Nail maintenance, as boring as it sounds, is actually a survival priority. Here's another angle: improvisation. With a little skill, a steel nail file can act as a lockpick substitute, a pry tool for jammed compartments, or even an emergency screwdriver for small screws. It's rigid, slim, and tougher than you think. And like with the spray bottle, let's talk barter power. Picture walking into a camp where someone's only knife has gone dull, or their flashlight won't turn on because of corroded contact. Pull out a nail file, fix their gear, and suddenly that $2 item has just bought you batteries, food, or medicine. People underestimate small tools until they need them. That's why I always pack two. One lives in my hygiene kit, because keeping nails healthy is actually a survival tactic, not vanity. The other stays in my repair pouch, wrapped in cloth to stay dry. Both are light, cheap, and practically invisible in weight, but in function, they're priceless. So ask yourself, in a world where your knife is dull, your gear is corroding, and your hands are bleeding, will you wish you had one of these in your pocket? Or will you be improvising with rocks while someone else sharpens, scrapes, and survives smarter? 3. Old school alarm clock. We live in a world where everyone depends on their phone for everything: time, alarms, reminders, schedules. But let's face it, when the grid goes down, when the batteries die, and when there's no signal, your smartphone becomes nothing more than a dead brick. That's when an old school alarm clock, the kind powered by a simple battery or winding gear, becomes a tactical advantage that most people won't even think about. Here's the truth: survival isn't just about fire, food, and water. It's about structure. It's about keeping your body, your group, and your mind disciplined. In a world where days blur together, without time disciplined, people get sloppy, guard rotations fail, water boils too short, cooking fuel burns too long, and trauma victims don't get monitored properly. Chaos creeps in when you stop keeping time. And that's where the alarm clock steps in. It's not fancy. It doesn't need Wi-Fi. It doesn't care if the power grid is dead. All it needs is a simple battery, or no battery at all, if it's wind up. That makes it one of the few items you can rely on when everything else has failed. Imagine needing to boil water to kill pathogens. Without a clock, how do you track the required 10 minutes? Guesswork won't cut it when your health is on the line. Or imagine running night watches. Without a clock, fatigue makes people oversleep, which means gaps in security. One missed guard shift can be catastrophic. And the clock's uses don't stop there. You can time unconscious victims after head trauma, rotate patrols with precision, monitor cooking fuel efficiency, or schedule movement before sunrise for stealth. Even the simple ticking, yes, that rhythmic tick-tick you once found annoying, becomes a source of comfort. It reminds your group that something is still working, still steady. That psychological anchor is priceless when everything else feels unstable. Now let's talk morale. Discipline creates morale. When your group knows there's a set time for rest, a time to wake, a time to eat, and a time to rotate, you prevent collapse within collapse. Without time, fatigue and mistakes multiply. With time, people stay sharp, and sharp people survive. And of course, think about how desperate people become when they lose track of time, missing medicine schedules, oversleeping, or wasting food and fuel. You show up with a functioning alarm clock, and suddenly you're not just trading an object, you're trading order. In collapse, order is as valuable as water. That's why I pack 2 clocks, one wind-up for unlimited reliability, and one battery-powered for backup, both wrapped in cloth to muffle sound and prevent damage during transport. They weigh almost nothing, but they keep life structured when chaos is everywhere. So when your phone dies, ask yourself, will you still have time on your side? Or will you be wandering through collapse without rhythm, without discipline, and without control? Because the man who controls time, controls survival. 4. Shower loofah. It sounds ridiculous, right? A shower loofah. That cheap plastic mesh ball hanging in your bathroom, usually ignored until it starts falling apart. Most people see it as nothing more than a luxury item. But in a collapse, the loofah stops being fluff and becomes one of the most efficient hygiene and utility tools you can carry. Here's why. Collapse doesn't usually kill with bullets or violence first. It kills with infection, with bad hygiene, with morale slipping because people feel filthy and defeated. And the loofah, yes, that silly scrubber, becomes a frontline defense against all of it. First, it's about water efficiency. A loofah lathers soap faster than bare hands, spreads it wider, and rinses with less water. In survival, where every drop counts, a loofah can stretch a small bar of soap or a tiny amount of liquid cleanser far longer than normal. That's not just convenience, that's medical survival. Less water wasted, cleaner skin, fewer rashes, and fewer infections. Second, it's about gear cleaning. Collapse gets messy. Mud, grime, blood, oil, cloth rags wear out fast and start rotting. But a loofah's synthetic mesh scrubs gear effectively, dries quickly, and resists bacterial buildup much better than cotton. That means you can keep knives, cookware, and boots usable without sacrificing your limited cloth supply. But survival isn't just about the body, it's about the mind. After 3 days of panic, a 5-minute scrub down with a loofah and soap can reset your morale completely. Feeling clean helps you feel human again, which helps you think clearer, make smarter decisions, and avoid mistakes born from stress and fatigue. Hygiene equals morale, and morale equals survival. The loofah even has water filtration used. No, it won't purify water, but in an emergency, you can run dirty water through it to strain out larger debris, like leaves, insects, or grit, before boiling or filtering properly. It's a pre-filter that protects your real gear from clogging too fast. And like the other items, loofahs carry strong barter value. Picture rolling into a camp where people are itching from bug bites, scratching at rashes, and stinking from sweat. You pull out a clean, sealed loofah. To them, that isn't just a bathroom accessory, it's relief, it's comfort, it's leverage. People will trade meds, ammo, or food just to feel clean again. My personal setup? I pack 1 sealed loofah in every hygiene kit. They're cheap, they compress down to nothing, and they weigh less than a granola bar. I also keep a couple spares vacuum packed in my trade bag. When collapse hits, clean equals comfort, and comfort is power. So ask yourself this: when soap is scarce, water is limited, and skin infections are spreading, will you have a way to stay ahead, or will you scratch yourself raw and fall behind? Because the survivor with the loofah, he's not just scrubbing, he's staying healthier, stronger, and smarter than everyone else. 5. Clothespins. When people hear the word clothespins, the first thought that comes to mind is laundry. Most folks imagine lines of shirts swaying in the breeze, pinned with these little wooden clips. But if society collapses and the power grid fails, the simple, old-fashioned clothespin will quickly reveal itself as a multifunctional survival tool that goes far beyond laundry day. Think about it. In a world without electricity, your washer and dryer become nothing more than dead weight. Every piece of clothing, every towel, Every bit of fabric you need to reuse has to be washed by hand and air-dried. Try doing that without clothespins. Socks fall in the mud, wraps blow away in the wind, and precious time gets wasted trying to balance wet gear across branches. Clothespins solve that instantly. With just a handful, you can create an efficient drying system that keeps your clothing and medical wraps off the ground, away from dirt, and safe from being lost to the elements. Staying dry isn't just about comfort, it's about preventing hypothermia, infections, and mold growth. But drying clothes is just the beginning. Clothespins transform into organizational tools. Imagine being in a camp with 10 people. Everyone's got packs, tools, gloves, or small items that can easily get lost. Clothespins let you clip gear to a line, mark critical supplies, or even hang lightweight tools where they're always within reach. In group survival, they can serve as a low-tech communication system to pin up notes, instructions, or assignments to a cord strung across camp. Silent, visual communication when voices might give you away. Now let's talk hygiene. In collapse, you want to avoid putting your toothbrush, razor, or hand towel on the filthy ground. Clothespins give you a simple way to suspend hygiene items, keeping them clean and aired out. That small step can mean the difference between staying healthy or catching infections in a dirty, resource-scarce environment. But the real magic of clothespins lies in their role as makeshift clamp. Need to close a wound dressing and don't have medical clips? A clean clothespin works. Need to seal a blanket to the frame of your shelter so the wind doesn't rip it loose? Clip it. Need to close a bag of food without zip ties? Clothespins step in. In a pinch, they provide the grip you need when your hands alone won't cut it. Don't overlook fire starting either. Wooden clothespins break apart easily and burn hot. In wet or windy conditions, they can be shaved down for kindling, providing a stealthy supply of emergency fire material hidden in plain sight. And here's the barter factor. You might laugh now, but picture this. Someone's struggling with mildew-soaked clothes. Their gear keeps hitting the ground, or they're wasting rope trying to lash items. You hand them a small pouch of sturdy clothespins. Suddenly, your laundry clips become a commodity worth trading food, batteries, or medicine for. My own setup? I carry a mix: 15 wooden pins for fire starting and general use, and 15 heavy-duty plastic pins for durability and water resistance. Packed into a small pouch, they weigh next to nothing but provide endless versatility. So the next time you see a clothespin, don't dismiss it as a relic from grandma's laundry line. In collapse, it's not the guy with the biggest knife who wins. It's the one who can adapt, improvise, and solve 5 problems with a single clip. 6. Zip-up storage bags. When you think survival, the first images that come to mind are usually knives, tents, or fire kit. But ask any experienced prepper and they'll tell you, one of the most valuable resources isn't flashy at all. It's containment. The ability to store, protect, and transport what you already have without losing it to weather, pests, or spill. And that's exactly where heavy-duty zip-up storage bags shine. We're not talking about flimsy sandwich bags. We're talking about freezer-grade, gallon-sized zip bags. The kind that can handle pressure, cold, and rough handling without tearing. In collapse, these bags transform into mobile infrastructure. Let's start with food preservation. In a humid, pest-ridden, or dirty environment, open food supplies don't last long. A bag of rice or beans, left exposed, is an invitation for moisture, insects, and rodents. But if you seal portions of dry goods into sturdy zip bags, especially with an oxygen absorber, you've suddenly doubled their shelf life. You can ration food into smaller portions, trade extra packs, or stash caches across multiple locations without needing bulky containers. Now let's move to medical protection. In survival, nothing is worse than grabbing your first aid kit in the rain, only to find your bandages soaked and your medicine ruined. By sealing trauma kits, meds, and disinfectants in separate zip bags, you guarantee they're dry and usable when you need them most. You can even label each bag for quick deployment: burns, cuts, antibiotics, water tabs, organized, visible, and waterproof. The uses don't stop there. Zip bags are perfect for electronics protection. Your headlamp, batteries, or power bank might be essential, but if they get wet, they're dead weight. Store them in a zip bag, and you've just created a portable waterproof case. Add aluminum foil around it, seal it again, And now you've even made a makeshift EMP-resistant container to protect delicate circuits. Need water transport? A heavy-duty gallon bag doubles as a temporary water bladder. You can carry water from a stream to camp or even use it for short-term storage. With careful setup and indirect heat, some preppers even manage to boil water in them, though I'd recommend it only in emergencies. Fire starting? Zip bags keep your tinder bone dry. Matches, lighters, cotton balls, and ferro rods stay protected even if you're caught in a flood or crossing a river. That single barrier might be what keeps your fire kit from being ruined. Hygiene? Use them to store soap, toothbrushes, razors, or even a sick child's waste. One sealed bag keeps contamination separate from the rest of your supplies, stopping disease before it spreads. And once again, the barter value can't be overstated. Imagine rolling into a camp where people's food has been eaten by rats, their meds are ruined, or their electronics are dead from rain. You pull out a simple zip bag, clean and sealed. That's problem solving in its purest form. People will trade ammo, fuel, or food to protect the resources they've already fought to gather. My setup: 25 heavy-duty gallon bags, minimum in every bug-out kit. They store flat, take up no space, and replace dozens of containers. Each one is labeled and rubber-banded for quick use. So here's the question: are you wasting pack space on bulky boxes? Or are you carrying containment tools that flex, adapt, and protect? Because in collapse, gear preservation is survival. And the survivor with zip bags doesn't just have supplies, he keeps them safe. 7. Silicone stretch lid. Now let's talk about something most people only know from trendy kitchen hacks: silicone stretch lids. You've probably seen them advertised as eco-friendly food savers, but in collapse, these cheap, flexible, reusable covers become one of the smartest tools you can pack. Here's the reality of survival: every drop of water, every scrap of food, every bit of stored energy matters. Wasting resources isn't an option, and nothing wastes more than an open container that spoils your food, attracts pests, or lets precious heat escape. That's where silicone lids step up. Unlike plastic wrap or foil, silicone lids stretch and seal tightly across almost any container. Bowls, jars, mugs, even oddly shaped survival tin. That means you can turn broken or lidless containers into sealed storage in seconds. Cook rice in a pot with no lid, stretch a silicone cover over it, and you've trapped heat, preserved leftovers, and blocked out flies or dust. Boiled water that needs to stay clean? Seal it tight with silicone. Suddenly, that cup isn't just water, it's protected water. I've personally used these lids to seal unfinished stews overnight, patch cracked jars, and even keep heat inside my mug on freezing mornings. They're silent, no crinkling like foil, and reusable hundreds of times. That makes them perfect for stealthy camps where noise discipline matters. Durability is another factor. Silicone survives both high heat and freezing cold. Unlike single-use wraps, they won't tear, crumble, or leach chemicals into your food. Wash them, roll them up, and use them again. One set of 6 weighs less than a pair of socks, but functionally gives you 6 sealed containers, even if the containers themselves are broken or mismatched. And here's something most don't consider: scent control. In collapse, the smell of food can attract desperate people or wild animals. A tightly sealed silicone lid keeps odors contained, reducing your risk of drawing unwanted attention. That alone is worth its weight in gold. And yes, they have barter potential too. When everyone else is covering their food with dirty cloths or cracked plastic, you show up with a clean, reusable silicone lid that seals instantly. That's not just a product, it's a solution, and people will trade dearly for solutions. My own loadout: 2 full, one for daily use, one for barter. Stored flat, they take up almost no space in my kitchen kit. But when collapse hits, they'll be the difference between food security and food spoilage. So ask yourself, are you letting your resources spoil, evaporate, and attract attention? Or are you sealing every advantage you can? Because the survivor with silicone stretch lids doesn't just save food, he saves time, energy, and morale. So there you have it, 7 ordinary, budget-friendly household items that transform into absolute lifelines when society starts to unravel. Notice something: none of these tools require electricity, fancy technology, or even much space in your pack. They're cheap, they're everywhere, and yet when the collapse comes, they'll be worth more than gold to the people who didn't prepare. This is the real secret of survival. It's not about having the flashiest knife or the biggest stockpile. It's about adaptability. Clothespins, storage bags, silicone lids, these are quiet tools, but they multiply your options. They let you dry gear, protect supplies, extend food life, organize chaos, and trade when others are desperate. In survival, the smallest details are the difference between thriving and barely holding on. Here's the question you need to ask yourself right now. Are you going to laugh these off as just household junk? Or are you going to put a few dollars aside, stock them today, and guarantee that when the grid goes dark, you're not scrambling? Because collapse doesn't announce itself. It doesn't give you a week's notice. It hits fast, and those who planned ahead, the ones who turned pennies into preparedness, become the ones everyone else looks to when things fall apart. So stock smart, pack light, and think beyond the obvious. Because when comfort vanishes, and survival becomes daily reality, the person with the right little tools will always outlast the one with only big weapons. Stay prepared, stay sharp, and remember, survival isn't about what you wish you had when collapse comes. It's about what you already have ready.